Hey y'all, welcome to another episode of Bad Girl Mystic. As corny as that sounds, I seem to not be able to stop saying that. So, I'm hanging out with my friends here, having a cup of oolong tea. It's towards the end of the day. And like, there's so much I want. This is a random talking video about just letting people know about transformation, about personal self-transformation, about transformation from trauma, about the different tools you use holistically, mind, body, and spirit for transformation. And it's for women because I've never been a dude. So this is all information that is geared specifically towards the female experience. Woo! And including, so quick overview of where I'm at, and for someone who's never watched this, all my sisters that hang out with me on a regular basis, I know that you'll be kind as I rewind real quickly. So I have been studying trauma for about 30 years from a holistic, which means incorporating every healing approach to trauma with the mind, body, and spirit, what we call our soul, the spark of life, the storyteller that is acknowledging and seeing the experiences in your environment and how it feels about you, the one who has history. It's raining like crazy, so sorry guys, sound isn't going to be that great. I just got a selfie stick, so at least no more shaking camera. Anywho, back to where I'm at with this. So, on my own personal journey, I've been dealing with trauma since the age of 2, sexual trauma. I've had physical trauma from car accidents, emotional trauma from just all those moments of what the fuck is going on. And those of you know what that's like. I have dealt with predators, I have dealt with pests, I have dealt with parasites, you name it. So this is about survival, but it's also about going beyond survival. It's about transformation into having a nervous system, having a belief system, having a value system that is in sync with what I want, instead of the focus constantly always fucking being on what I do not want happening. And that's that survivor head, where you're constantly sorting your environment for what the fucks and what you need to stay the fuck away from and who the fuck do you need to stop talking to. Because when, especially if you've had trauma, what is called the imprint years, tabula rasa, where your inner circle is molding onto your values and belief system of what you believe is possible in this world. So it leaves you at first what's called the victim. You are fucking freaking out because you think it's never going to be possible to live anywhere else or be around anyone else who does not constantly fucking put you down in a place where you are constantly doubting your own abilities. You feel powerless, you feel defeated, you just feel like you fucking suck. And that's what I'm talking about. You know, I'm talking about dark nights of the soul. I'm talking about destruction. I'm talking about, you know, so usually that gets manifested into destructive behavior if you're constantly thinking you are the source of all fucking ills in the world. So, and that's like early trauma. Now, I am unable to talk about adult onset trauma because I have experienced childhood trauma. So no matter what trauma I have experienced throughout my life from other events, including being gun raped at the age of 13. So what I'm talking about is that complex trauma, right? And I said I would make this short. Sorry, guys. So what I'm talking about is then going from victim, going through the destruction phase, somehow making it out of that phase. As we all know, so many we love that have traveled the path of the bad girl, the rebel, the one who dares to dream it can be different, the one who leaves. I always think of the Beatles song, She's Leaving Home. And wherever you are on that scale, if you're relating to what I'm saying, and I only do this for the ones that relate to what I'm saying. If you're not relating, go take this precious time that you have in this world, because God knows we only have so many breaths. And we never know when. And do what you love instead of, you know, disagreeing with whatever the fuck I say, because you have never experienced it. So, what I'm talking about is transformation, where you dare believe it can be different than what you have experienced in the past. Whatever shitstorm you've been through, whatever you have survived, whatever choices you have made to stop doing whatever you did to destroy yourself. And for myself, drugs and alcohol, take it or leave it. I came from a family who stuffed their feelings down with food. So my Achilles heel, my go-to place for destruction, was just it was my food. So it was my fuel. It was the thing we put into our body to create power of strength and energy and health that allows us to go on and accomplish whatever it is that we dream, whatever goals we set, whatever way we believe we want to make this life count, and what it is that we want to experience, and what kind of people we want to experience being around, to transform the shitstorm of doubt and naysayers that whatever you've come out of, it's finding the tools. So I've heard different things about this documentary from Netflix, Heal. I haven't watched it yet. But I heard one person complaining about the gaps in changing your belief system work. I've done NLP work and hypnotherapy, and I'm a big fan of Deepak Chopra. So I'm a big fan of, once again, alignment and connection. Taking our focus and our heart, our feelings, our imagination, our instincts, our integrity, so that everything we do, we're doing it from a place of truth, and dealing with the fear that comes up with displeasing people around us, dealing with the anger that comes up instead of pushing it down, because good girls do not get angry, and I was brought up with that belief. Spiritual background, Catholic school till I went to my first Holy Communion and freaked the fuck out and thought I was going to hell. And I knew something was wrong. And every time they said the word virgin, I wasn't sure what it meant. And I didn't know if it meant what I thought it meant. And I ended up, like, asking everyone. People get mad at me and tell me I was too young to know what that meant. Thank God for Judy Blam. Found out through one of her books what a virgin was. And I realized, oh, fuck, you know, I'm going to hell. That choice was taken for me. I never had a choice and say-so of when I would have that experience. It was forced upon me before I could speak clearly, talk, say no with any authority or ability to fight off my predator. So I was freaked out. I was freaked out by the whole experience of the Catholic Church. And then I realized, okay, either... And here I am freaking out. Ended up telling my mom the night before communion. Picturing my body burning in all kinds of horrific ways. And my mom slapped me and said, do not make up lies. stop letting your imagination run wild. And she called me Carmelita, and I was really in trouble when my mom called me that. So I decided I spent up all night, like, you know, here I'm 8 years old, having a complete religious meltdown, questioning the existence of God and what I should do. Cat hair. And I decided to double down and lie. I thought, well, if I'm going to hell anyway for not being a virgin, I'm just going to lie my way out of it. So the search has always been from within, questioning, thank God once again for Judy Bloom, Are You There, God? To Me, Margaret, that I had a choice with my spirituality. And I told my mom I didn't want to go back to church. And she understood. And I had the same issue with Girl Scouts. I did not feel all through brownies and Girl Scouts that I fit in. It was the 70s. All the moms stayed at home. I was the only one that had a mother that worked. I was one of the few girls that had a mother that was Mexican. My mom was divorced. That was looked upon. Most mothers turned their nose up at my mom. My mom was a Libra. She was very fashionably stylish and pretty and petite and trim and charming. And so there was always problems. My mom always had problems with friends. Husbands either hitting on them or them getting jealous and worried about their husbands. Like I said, this was the 70s and 80s. So I grew up like the nerdy kid that kids didn't really play with. You know, bullied, too tall, glasses, bookworm, blah, blah, blah. So for me at a very young age, spirituality was very open, like Star Wars and the Force was the first thing that really hit home for me. That this spark I felt, this love I felt, the person that looking out, that spark is part of a greater force field. And that jived for me in my belief system. So through the years, studied all different Eastern philosophies, but when it came to trauma, when it came to triggers, nothing helped. Meditation, you know, yoga helped because it started to balance my body and my nervous system and help me breathe deeper. And so this is where I first started connecting that the better I felt physically, the better I was going to feel emotionally. And this affected what I call my spirit in terms of, instead of always being focused on what we call our darkness, my destructive side, the one that breathes and sorts for the doubt and the anger and the sadness and the despair. This and the kind of destruction I'm talking about is the kind where I was the kind of person who went to bed with sleeping pills next to my bed, just in case this is the day I wanted to end it. I had a shopping list for in case I wanted to end it up on, had a spot pick out on Mulholland Drive, where I would end it. This is how much I was in despair and in pain in physically being in my own being. So when I talk about transformation work, what I'm talking about is what I've done, taking this information I've learned about holistic and about connecting and aligning, and putting this in a daily, day-to-day practice where, yes, you do focus on your habits and you focus on the loops of what the triggers are, what the despair is. We focus on the things that we're grateful for, and we take our imagination and we take our creativity and we wrap that around that and we boost it up, because there is, just as we have a hormonal effect to stress, we have a hormonal effect to what the fuck makes us really happy. And then you just put that in some kind of practice, some kind of context, whatever works best for you. And there's audios and videos I talk about, like, you know, discovering like what is your superpower in terms of your sensory learning system. Similar to when you look at a zodiac, or you look at what your elements are of earth and fire, and you look at, you know, numerology or any of those divination charts where you look at and say, oh, these are my strengths, these are my weaknesses in my character, where you feel a natural inclination or naturally pull away from something, whatever that jives for you. And there's a way to fine-tune that practice to that. So what I've been doing to up my own practice, to create more of a daily flow as opposed to a lot of ups and downs. So as we all know, like, the ups and downs can really trigger traumatic reaction to our environment, reaction to our emotions, that, like, it just plucks that sore spot, that open gaping wound, and just picks at it, and then it just hits a nerve, and then all of a sudden the body is reacting, and you are unable to physically stop whatever physical reaction you're having, which is whether it's your heart beating faster, your muscles trembling, your hands shaking, you're unable to breathe because you're breathing more shallow, the tightness and tension in your body, the clenching of your jaw, your hands, your fists, your ass. When we come from traumatic states where we have doubted our own survival or our own resources, our own lack of support within our environment, from the ones that we have trusted that has been put into your life to take care of you, when you lack that, this is what our nervous system is always sorting for. So the first thing is to affirm whether you are safe or not. You know, what is going on in your environment that needs your immediate action on. And then when you're able to affirm that you are safe, then taking those deep breaths to calm the nervous system. That's why you need the deep breaths. And then once you calm the nervous system and you take inventory of your environment, this is what we call grounding, feeling, you know, what kind of floor is under your feet? What are you touching right now? How do your clothes feel on your body? What, you know, doing an assessment of your body also as well. Like, are your hands still trembling? Are you still clenching your muscle somewhere? This is all a way of taking your power back. Especially as women, where we have been, so many of us, myself, have been trained to be the good girl and prioritize everyone's emotions and needs first before my own. So, you know, anything or everything within my circle of environment took precedence over my own needs. And so this within myself interrupted my own natural rhythm of timing, because I was constantly stopping and starting, stopping and starting whatever it is that I was trying to focus on to first take care of and please whatever needs were around me. So once again, that's another reason why daily practice is really important, because it creates this habit of listening to your own needs, of prioritizing what your now is, what you are experiencing in this moment. And when you can take inventory of what you're experiencing in this moment, then you're able to look at what it is that you're displeased with in your life. What is stealing time away from you? What is it that you want to have more of? And then you create that goal. Then you do that vision board. Then you do those affirmations. It's then when you get really clear, like, oh my gosh, you know, if I just did this 15 minutes a day, this would put me this much further. So with myself, healing a traumatic injury, healing traumatic brain injury, healing triggers that still come up for me with PTSD, is that having these little rhythms and steps already set in place of how I'm going to use my imagination, how I'm going to interact with myself. These go-to simple steps this is how I'm slowly able to better my health and become stronger and calmer in my own physical being, which frees up my focus from being constantly on pain and suffering. Then, like I said, for myself, I now just recently have embraced a new spiritual practice that I'm delving into, and it is the practice of the wise woman that has been around since the beginning of time, the practice of working with nature and with herbs and seeing how I want that experience to know, like, how do my cells sync up with the moon? How is it that my own physical being, we know by science that everything on this planet is connected, and that in our DNA, we share the same DNA of every species on Earth. But to have that tactile experience, you know, it's such a Taurus, you know, I know, but of moving my own journey in sync with the season. So I have been studying the ancient craft of witchcraft. But I'm never, like, I always kind of sniffed around it and had a draw to it, but I've never had the desire to do spells for someone else or work with a coven. I never had the desire to work with deities or spirits. I wanted to delve into Mother Earth. And so with the blessing of the internet and how so many women are connecting and creating powerful changes because we're aligning our values together, is I found out that there is something that such as called an eclectic witch, where you take everything you've learned. So I can take all the things that have resonated in me from yoga and from Eastern philosophies and the different teachers that and I have studied with and read, and formulate my own practice based on the rhythms that we all live with. The rhythms governed by the planet that we all share. And see how I can have this human experience on a different level. So spell work and rituals, though, are very new for me, and I'm still developing the habit. They're still kind of like up and down, all over the place. And so we're in what's called the last quarter moon. So I'm talked earlier this week about deserving, having a practice, hugging your blessings. But now I'm in the spot of like, okay, this is banishment time. This is like taking that list of time bandits, booze, the things you no longer want. What is the loop? What is the belief of anxiety or doubt that has been going through with you? What set it off? What was the trigger? What conversation I had? What interaction? What relationships this month from long-term friendships that I am reevaluating? Once again, if I find myself dreading talking to someone, I need to evaluate that relationship and what's going on. So a lot of that's been going on for me. So I did my first banishment spell ritual with saying my intentions. I do it with music. I dance. I think Rumi had it right. Dance and sing your prayers. And I love what Hafiz says. Thank you's the only prayer we ever needed. And so I got my groove on. I did my Magic Mojo groove thing and used herbs and elements and spoke my truth and danced it out. And there's this wild rain and windstorm going. So it was really cool as I released my magical workings into the wind and released all that emotion and tightness in my physical body. So locating, not only thinking about what is emotionally fucking with you, but feeling it in your physical body. Is your heart tight when you think about it? Is your stomach tight when you think about it? Is your pussy tight? Like, let's get real. If you've had sexual trauma, there's going to be extreme muscle tightness around your genitals, around your glutes, which are your major power muscle mover. So if you are constantly clenching your ass, you are literally cutting in half your power. So physically connecting to where that emotion, where you are constantly reacting. This is why I like chakras, because there is a physical location to the body. There is a gland that releases the hormone that is coordinated and connected, and there is a color and sound that vibrates at a certain megahertz and tone that will connect with those glands and connect with those hormones, what we refer to as the emotional system. What is we refer to is that spark. Once again, the one who is the storyteller, the one who is experienced and seen and has had the whole experience. So I'm not talking inner child. I'm talking your nervous system is a collective. It's a snowball of everything you have had up to this moment. And we are the captain. We are the ones that need to decide how to release it. And then you throw in the fact that as women having a female earthship, our brains work differently. Our biological drive is different. We connect our sensory learning system to our environment differently than men. And when you start looking into all those differences, you start to, you know, for me, there was so much that male teachers would share that I was unable to connect with, and I felt like a failure because I was unable to replicate their results. And when I started having more female teachers and started understanding that what I am emotionally feeling that is different is actually natural. What I am feeling is natural. And my lack of connection and inability to replicate it has more to do with the hard drive than my worth.